What's good, everyone? This is Mikerotastraphy here, and today I want to give you another guide video on Marvel Rivals today, and we're going to be focusing on Squirrel Girl. Now, this is not something I haven't talked about, but it's something that's very apparent on how you can better improve your playstyle as Squirrel Girl, and that is learning how to angle your shots. The thing about Squirrel Girl that makes her so different from any other hero, regardless if they're a hit scan character or a projectile character, is the fact that Squirrel Girl's primary fire and her squirrel blockade, they can bounce. No other hero can bounce their projectiles except for Cloak and Dagger to create like unique trick shots or unique picks that other heroes just cannot do. On top of that, Squirrel Girl's primary fire has an AoE blast radius, so it's pretty much like an acorn bomb. And that's what makes her a very unique character, but also very difficult to truly master her shots, because when a non-Squirrel Girl character either is on the enemy team and they get picked off a lot by your shots, they just assume that you're just spamming that one location. Or if you have a teammate that sees you doing all these different like trick shots, from a wall, from the ground, and you're hitting like the same location, well, they might assume that, hey, you're just spamming and that's it. But a good Squirrel Girl player knows how to angle their shots to create different types of shots to either, one, keep yourself safe and maintain consistent pressure around corners or around walls if you know there are enemies there, or B, if someone is trying to run away from you from a duel, then you can easily angle your shots to pick them off so they can't get away from you. And I think this is the misconception from non-Squirrel Girl players from a Squirrel Girl main. Squirrel Girl mains know that they're not spamming all the time, unless you're literally doing that for whatever reason. Whereas a non-Squirrel Girl main, they just see you spamming shots at a certain corner and you're just doing your job and you're just cleaving. But I'm here to try to break that myth today, because how I play Squirrel Girl, there are three main types of shots you can use as Squirrel Girl, but you can combine some of them together to create different types of trick shots. And I'll show you the examples from my personal experience from rank matches and some quick play as well. The three main type of shots Squirrel Girl can do is a direct shot, which you just hit the acorn directly at an enemy. You can do a bounce L shot, whereas if you're from a high up, you shoot it at the ground and it'll create like an L trajectory. Or the third type of shot is called a lob shot, which this is probably what most people do oftentimes when they're quote unquote spamming. It's when you lob your acorns far away from your side of the team and you're trying to hit someone way at the back line of the enemy team. That would be considered like a lob shot, because you're lobbing it instead of hitting someone directly, or you're bouncing it. Those are like the main three types of shots that you can do as Squirrel Girl. And I'm going to quickly go over how effective each one of those three shots are before I start talking about trick shots. The first one is the direct shot. It's self-explanatory. You aim your cursor, your mouse, directly at an enemy. A bounce shot, you aim it to the ground and it creates that L-shaped bounce. The acorn actually travels roughly around 10 meters before it explodes, and that's something to keep in mind. So what that means is that when you're in a team fight, whether you're defending or attacking, if you're on the high ground and you're trying to pick at someone from afar, or you're trying to angle your shots to cleave without trying to hit them directly, always aim your cursor roughly about 10 meters below the target you're trying to aim for. So when you do your bounce shots, it's going to travel, and when it lands again and explodes, it should hit the target that you're aiming for. But also on the plus side, if you aim your cursor 10 meters down and try and do the L bounce shots, if you have like a teammate, whether it be like a tank or whoever, is starting to retreat backwards, your L bounce shots could count as like peeling away and helping your tank escape, because when they retreat backwards, well, then the enemy is going to try to come to your direction. So you aiming 10 meters down, doing the L bounce shots, they're going to walk into your bounce shots a lot sooner. So that's another good reason why you should be using L bounce shots when you're high on the high ground, because it helps out with peeling the enemies while your tanks or whoever's retreating backwards to get away safely. And also it just kind of it adds a level of unpredictability that the enemy sees the acorn bouncing far away, but then all of a sudden it bounces towards direction and then they get hit for it. The last type of shot I want to talk about is lob shots. And this type of shot is pretty straightforward, similar to direct shots, where instead of you aiming directly at an enemy, you kind of aim your cursor or your reticle not super high above the air, but you aim it above the general team fights area, because you're lobbing your acorn shots to either hit the back wall and then having that bounce hit any enemies that's in the back line, or you're doing lob shots because the enemy is super far away, so you have to overcompensate the trajectory by aiming higher in the air in order to hit those direct shots to hit the enemies that are much farther away. Lob shots are really good if you're just trying to poke people super afar, which is mainly the support characters, because a good support character would learn to be in the back line of the team fight. So the lob shots give you a better opportunity to kind of hit those support characters without them not really knowing where those shots are coming from. You can easily do lob shots in your back line of a team fight, so you're also safe. So lob shots is like a safe way to kind of poke people from afar, but it's much harder to aim because, one, you may not land a lot of those shots because you don't have the direct line of sight of whoever you're targeting. You just have a general area of where they might be. And B, because her primary fire, it falls off severely, like 70% after 3 meters or 10 meters. I can't remember which one. You won't be doing as much damage. So like, yes, you'll be poking at the enemy support way in the back, but you won't be doing as much damage. But it does come in handy if you actually have teammates who are already in the back line, like a Spider-Man, a Venom, a Black Panther, who are diving at the support characters. Well, then you can help out secure those picks by lobbing those shots from afar, and you're doing a bunch of cleave damage from afar while they're busy trying to stay alive against your teammate divers who's are adding pressure on them. So that's how you can add value to team fights using a lob shot. Now that I've finished talking about the 3 basic shots that you can do as Squirrel, now I want to kind of do more of an advanced tech of how you can combine certain shots together to create certain trick shots that you can easily add pressure in unexpected areas without your enemies even realizing it's possible. And before they realize it, it's too late. Now, what I mean by trick shots for Squirrel Girl is you being able to combine like a direct shot against like a wall or a ceiling to create a certain trajectory that could pick off an enemy from around a corner or around a ledge that is completely safe from you, but you're able to apply pressure on them if where they're at. Again, non-Squirrel Girl players would probably see this as you just being lucky, or you being unfair, or you're just spamming certain areas and just throwing random shots and hoping that something hits. But if you understand the way that her acorns bounce, that's all you need to worry about. Don't worry about how other people view you, then that's all you need to do to get the picks and win the team fight that way. Starting with direct hits. If you're trying to hit somebody that's around a corner or a wall or a ledge, whatever, you try to aim your direct hits or direct shots around the edge of the wall that they're close by, because when it bounces, you'll have a better chance of hitting them directly. And if you're close by, even though it bounced off the wall, they'll still take full damage simply because you're close to them, and they'll take the full 110 damage. And also the fact that your acorn didn't travel that far too. So that's one way you can use a trick shot to secure a kill.
he was back here.
Another way you can do a trick shot up close is if you are also doing someone close by and they're trying to like run around a corner. Well, if you don't want to do a direct shot around a wall to do that bounce, what you can do is do an L bounce and have the explosion be the cleave damage to pick off that kill that way. Because like I said, as long as you're close by, that AoE splash damage will still do full amount because you're close and it didn't travel that far. So they'll still take the full 110 damage while hitting that enemy that's around the corner, around the wall, trying to run away or trying to bait you out. You can easily bait them out just by doing those trick shots and hit them for trying to camp. And the thing about this type of trick shot is because you're closer to the ground, when you aim your reticle a few meters close to the ground, it will still do a L bounce shot, but it won't travel 10 meters. It'll travel like a very short distance. So that's why this type of trick shot can work, because you're closer to the ground and the bounce won't go that far. So that's why this is another type of trick shot that can work close by. A third type of trick shot that you can do using a lob shot to angle at a ceiling or a piece of a wall that's slightly above the enemy's head, so that when it bounces off the ceiling or on a wall and it goes down, it'll still be able to hit the enemy heroes and it'll do that AoE cleave damage. This is really good when you're lobbing shots from far away on an open-ended map, like for instance the first checkpoint of the Clintar map, and you have that giant circle area. Whether you are attacking or defending, you can use your lob shots. Instead of aiming at them directly, you can try to aim at the certain terrain that they're close by, because you're still going to do that AoE cleave damage, and it's much easier for you to kind of build your ult relatively quickly because they're not anticipating you to land your shots when they see the acorns fly over their heads, and until they realize that the acorns are bouncing off the walls and hitting them in the back, you're already building your ult charge relatively fast, because it's going to take a few shots for them to realize, and then they have to turn around or block it or step away and move. But this is also a really good trick shot when you are facing characters who have shields, such as a Doctor Strange or a Magneto, who can proc their shield in front of them, but you can use your lob shots to angle at the ceilings or the walls behind them, and you can still hit them from behind without them even realizing it. So that's why this type of trick shot works very well. Like I mentioned, because you're aiming from far away, don't expect to do a lot of damage, but this is like a really good way to kind of like poke them from afar, build your ult charge, whether it's the beginning of a match, beginning of a new team fight. It's a good way to kind of like build your ult charge for the next major team fight, and you can be ready to proc your ultimate much sooner compared to every other DPS hero or even supports. And if you might get lucky, you can also get a pick or two if they've been taking too much cleave damage by you and by your other team members who might be aiming at them at the same time.
The dragon unleashed! I am as
We are undefeatable!
Don't mess! Don't mess! The amazing Spider-Man!
So now that I talk about the advanced ways you can create trick shots using the 3 basic shots, I want to quickly explain the reasons why you should use each shot for each situation. I'll start off with the L bounce shot. The reason why you could use the L bounce shot to poke at the enemy heroes, if you are defending that match, you can hop onto the particular building that is facing towards that chokehold point, and you can just spam your L shots directly around that corridor area. Or if the building is starting to take damage and you see like little holes, you can easily spam your L shots inside that little building as well, because there's going to be heroes inside that building because there's that med pack nearby them. So you can easily force them to retreat by angling your L shots inside the building or around the chokehold points. So, and in order for them to really contest against you, they have to get inside the line of sight in order to get you off that particular building, and they're setting themselves up to fail. So by you using your L bounce shots, yes, to other people it might look like you're spamming, but for you, you're literally fishing out people who might try to pick you off and overextend away from their teammates, and then they get picked off by either you or your other teammates, and then just repeat the cycle over and over again. This is what I do all the time when I'm defending, when I am playing as Squirrel Girl, and it's how I'm able to kind of provide great value to the teammates because I'm keeping myself safe because I have the giant building in front of me. I'm also keeping my teammates safe because I'm adding pressure around the chokehold points and that building. And also, it fishes out any cocky heroes who's trying to take me out by having them to forcibly overextend. And if there is an off chance that someone does succeed on getting on top of that building and trying to contest against you, well, all you need to do is you can hop to the back of the building. There's that med pack right there. So you can stand around the med pack and duel against that enemy hero. And if you get low on health, walk to the med pack. Use your squirrel blockade to CC lock them and then try to pick them off or get them low enough that they have to retreat because you already grabbed that med pack, so then they need to retreat back to their teammates. And then you can just walk around to the other side of the building, hop on that blue jump icon, get back on top of the building, and restart your process over again. It's kind of like my rotation on how I defend on that map, that particular part of the map. And that's a good scenario where L bounce shots is very effective rather than trying to do direct shots all the time or doing lob shots when you're on the ground. A reason why you would want to do lob shots when you're playing as Squirrel Girl is simply because that you're able to build your ult charge faster than any other DPS hero. And because she has AoE cleave damage, you can easily hit a lot of heroes at once if they're very far away before they get close enough to try to do damage towards you. A good example I like to do this a lot is on the Clintar map, whether I'm attacking or defending, especially when I'm defending. When the match starts, everyone's going to be grouped together automatically. So I stand in the middle of that circle area, I angle my reticle a little bit above the doorway, and I just start chucking my horns to either bounce off the wall and hit the people directly under it, or I might get lucky and I hit the people directly, but because they're naturally all clumped together, I'll start building my ult charge a little bit faster than any other DPS hero. So when the team fight does happen and we're trying to pick off like the healers or do damage towards the tanks, I'll be able to get my ult off faster so I can easily catch the healers off guard and use my ult against them. So then we can easily steamroll the team fight that way. And if I can get picks off any of the healers, well then the tanks and the DPS heroes won't have any healing capabilities, so then it'll be much easier for my teammates and I to kind of sweep up the fight and call it a victory. And then on the next team fight, then I could play more passive and then just build all charge of cleaving away at the tanks, or if the enemy healers do pop their support ult at that time, well then I don't have to be as aggressive because I already used my ult. I could retreat backwards, use more lob shots, someone gets close, then I could duel against them using other type of shots and rinse and repeat. But it's the fact that I'm able to build my ult charge faster allows me to get the opportunity to draw first blood. And a lot of times, whoever draws the first blood first in this type of game has a better chance of setting the tone for how the rest of the match is going to go, based off of ult economy. And then if we're talking about the direct shots, the main reason you would use direct shots is because it's much easier to kind of cleave multiple heroes at once, because if you aim directly at the enemy hero when you're like in mid range, not super far away but not super close, unless you are dealing someone close by, this still works. If you're aiming at them directly towards the body, if you see the shape of the explosion of the acorn, it's like a circular motion. So if you aim at someone directly at their body, well then that explosion has the full radius because you're hitting the middle of their torso, it explodes, and then that big enough bubble explosion will have a better chance of cleaving other heroes, so then they take full damage as well when the acorn explodes. And that's a great way to kind of like do a lot of damage, add a lot of pressure, and build your ult charge at the same time. That's what makes direct shots still the best type of shot to just master, get practice on when you're playing as Squirrel Girl, because it's just so much easier to just cleave away a team fight if they're too crowded together. She's very similar to Moon Knight, where their damage output best shines when there are too many enemy heroes clumped together. And as Squirrel Girl, when you use your direct shots, you're just cleaving away multiple heroes at once. You're doing a lot of damage to the point where it's kind of harder. It's harder for their support heroes to keep up with all the heals because you're adding that much pressure, healers, and you can get picks off that way. So my recommendation is to just get practice firsthand, mastering the direct shot first. Because obviously, the more you can land your hits directly, well then the more comfortable you will feel when you start exploring how to master the L bounce shots and even the lob shots, because you have that general understanding of how to land your direct shots on a consistent basis. The last thing I want to quickly go over for this video is kind of give you some tips and tricks on how you can best master your accuracy and master your shots as Squirrel Girl in the practice range. What I do personally a lot of times before I jump into comp is I go into the practice range, I go down to that training room on the bottom level, and then I pick either 2 heroes or 3. I either pick Aluna Snow if I'm practicing my direct shots, because she would randomly move faster than usual because of her passive, where if she runs in one direction a certain amount of time, she'll start doing that ice dash, which then adds a little bit of unpredictability to her movement, which then it gives you that actual training to try to land your direct shots on an unpredictable target, whether they're strafing in a random way, whether if she jumps in the middle of her dash, she'll jump farther than usual. So then you have to take in consideration of that. Set it. Just practice like 5 minutes with your direct shots under these settings, or practice until you get 100 kills and see how long it took you to get to that amount. And this will definitely improve your accuracy, and it'll train your eye to track your movements when you're trying to land your direct shots. Now, if we're going to talk about L bounce shots, then the character that I choose is either Luna Snow, or I choose like a DPS hero, whether it be like the Punisher or the Winter Soldier. Because when I'm trying to do L bounce shots, I'm literally cleaving either the DPS heroes or the support heroes. And that's what I'm training my eye to do. So I set the settings up to fit whatever situation I want. And based on, it doesn't matter if I choose a support hero or a DPS hero, I start the training area. Well, then I go to the top of the training area. I don't start at the bottom. And because then you're quote unquote on the high ground, and then you see the enemy heroes kind of like walking around like usual, well then that trains your mind and your eye to practice your lob shots. And as I mentioned, the acorns travel about 10 meters when you do an L bounce shot. So then I use the distant markers to practice how low should I angle my reticle to create that L bounce shot to cleave the hero that's from a far away distance. And then I just practice strafing my L bounce shots to their movements, so to kind of create that little imaginary chokehold points. Because a lot of times with most heroes, if they get hit from one side, they try to strafe to the other. So if you try to create that little chokehold area by bouncing your L shots from the left to the right side of their direction, well then they feel like they're going to get trapped until eventually they die. But I do this again for about 5 minutes, or until I get a certain amount of kills that I'm satisfied with, and then I stop. And then I assess how long it took me to get that way. I assess my accuracy and kind of rinse and repeat, or until I'm ready to move on to the next training session. Now, if we're talking about lob shots, it's pretty much straightforward, similar to direct shots. But again, I switch it to either Luna Snow or a DPS hero, because I'm training my eye to aim for those type of heroes when I'm doing lob shots. And then I set the timer and do the same thing, practicing my lob shots, trying to aim at the wall behind them while they're moving around, or just practicing my lob shots to hit them directly to do a bunch of cleave damage. And then I go from there. But that's all I have for you today on mastering Squirrel Girl's shots and how to get practice on to master those type of 3 shots, so that you can start creating trick shots on the fly when you're dueling against a hero up close or from afar. If you like this type of video, definitely leave a like and comment your thoughts on how you're doing your shots as Squirrel Girl. Whether you're just doing the spamming type or if you're trying to create different shots in different situations. I'd love to hear your experience on how you're playing as Squirrel Girl in Marvel Rivals in Season 1. If you like these type of guide videos, definitely subscribe to my channel and leave a notification bell so that you can stay tuned for more guide videos like this in the near future. I definitely appreciate you guys adding so much feedback and value to these videos. It definitely helps me improve of what type of videos I should be making to help your guys' experience that much easier and better in Marvel Rivals. This is Mikerotastraphy, and I'll catch you guys later.
The moon haunts you!
That's 3! Wow, 4 in a row! Time to go nuts! Hello, happy to chip in! It's party time! Down goes the spider! Off over here! Be careful! Final score, 2-1.